With new nails, a haircut, and a point to prove, Alex Eala has returned for redemption after 8 games and 1 heartache in Toronto. Don't be fooled by the light-hearted quips. She told reporters that she required a haircut and that her nails were grown out before returning to the court. She's ravenous. The Filipina superstar is traveling to Cincinnati with the intention of exacting revenge after Belinda Bencic brought an abrupt end to her 11-match winning streak across 3 events. A field full of the finest players in the WTA is prepared for a first-round bye. Is Cincinnati going to be Alex Eala's next victory? There was no longer the roar that had filled SoBi Stadium for the entire week. The flags that had transformed center court into a sea of blue, white, and red had ceased to fly. The 10,000 spectators crammed into the stadium were left in utter stillness as the final point was scored. Alex Eala's winning streak of 11 games in 3 tournaments had come to an abrupt end. August 10, 2026, Monday morning Philippine time. The scoreboard shows 6-4, 6-0 to Belinda Bencic, the gold medalist from the Tokyo Olympics and world number 14, who methodically destroyed the Filipina wonder in an hour and 20 minutes. Since losing in the round of 32 at the Bad Hamburg Open in June, it was Eala's first consecutive set defeat. And it ended a 7-match winning streak that was a career high. The game started off promisingly. The crowd erupted behind Eala as she opened with a love hold. However, Bencic answered right away, matching her hold for hold. Then the pivotal moment arrived. Eala gave the Swiss star the first break in her first serve game by making 2 early double faults. Bencic made the most of it, grabbing a 2-1 lead that she would never really give up. As usual, Eala retaliated. She broke Bencic twice to tie the opening set at 4-4 after falling behind 2-4. Once more, the mob found its voice. Though it seems inevitable, Bencic changed his strategy. The 29-year-old Swiss veteran who had won this tournament as an 18-year-old in 2015 broke Eala in the 9th game and served out the set 6-4. It was a masterclass in dominating in the second set. Bencic quickly took a 3-0 lead by breaking Eala twice. The Filipina never made a full recovery. Every rally concluded with Eala scrambling, and every serve was returned with accuracy. Eala won 53% of her first serve points, while the Swiss star earned 67%. For the 21-year-old's left-handed game, she had a strategy that worked perfectly. Since 2024, Bencic has risen to an amazing 10-0 record versus left-handers. The mismatch was complete by the time the last point was scored. Even though I am aware that the most of you were supporting Alex, I must admit that it was a pleasure to perform in front of you all. Bencic informed the assembly. The defeat was devastating to Eala. However, it was not unexpected. In around 12 days, the 21-year-old had played 8 games and won 7 of them in incredibly remarkable ways. In her last encounter with Caddy McNally, she had rolled her ankle. She had hardly slept at all. She had put her all into it. Eala had remarked after her McNally victory, already feeling the burden of her grueling race, "Today was physically, it pushed me a lot. The run that had enthralled the tennis world was finally finished, and I am as exhausted as it gets." In her post-match press conference, Eala would say, "It's always tough after a loss. However, as I mentioned earlier, I see these last 2 weeks as a huge plus. I believe my performance was excellent. I've overcome a lot of challenges. The heartache was genuine. However, the pride was also present. The tears had stopped flowing. The loss was genuine." However, Alex Eala did something that shocked everyone when she took a seat to speak to the media following her defeat by Belinda Bencic. She grinned. She then began discussing nails and haircuts. "I will undoubtedly take a day or 2 off. 1 or 2 days. I do have to go to Cincinnati. I must get my hair chopped. It's been a long time since I had a haircut." Eala laughed at her own admission during her post-match press conference, saying, "My nails are grown out." Alex Eala was pure and unadulterated at that moment. This 21-year-old, who had been carrying the dreams of a whole country for 2 weeks, had just been destroyed 6 feet 4 inches, 6 feet 0 inches by an Olympic gold medalist, ending her winning streak of 7 games. And she was making jokes about needing some pampering rather than languishing in defeat. She answered, "Yeah, I'll do a couple things, just to get my mind off tennis." In my opinion, Toronto is an excellent location for doing that. Yes, try to have fun and possibly get back together with some pals in Cincinnati. It was a way of thinking that made clear why Eala had gained such popularity. She wasn't acting as though the loss wasn't painful. She has no intention of becoming a robot. With the same resolve that had propelled her to a DC Open victory and a career-high world number 20 rating, she was admitting the hurt, accepting the loss, and looking forward. She continued, snapping her fingers to indicate how soon her break would finish. "I'll be back on court like that." I was able to appreciate what I had as a result. I was able to take advantage of my time off the court. The humorous moment also demonstrated the physical damage her run had caused. 8 games in 12 days, 7 straight victories, a demanding run to win the DC Open that involved a 20-hour rain delay, and a Canadian Open campaign that included a terrifying ankle injury. Eala wasn't trying to hide the fact that she was truly tired. "Naturally, it's difficult after a defeat," she remarked in a firm voice. "However, as I mentioned earlier, I see these last 2 weeks as a huge plus. I believe my performance was excellent. I've overcome a lot of challenges." Eala responded to a reporter's question on the strain of keeping up such a demanding pace with her usual candor. She spoke with the self-awareness of someone who knows that learning from both successes and failures is a necessary part of being a professional athlete. And what she said showed that she was a champion who understood exactly what she had to do. Rest, heal, and resume your work. However, she added, "I'm really thankful that I'm healthy. Clearly, it's always at the top of my priority list. I am, therefore, counting my blessings. I'm hoping to apply the things I've learned over the past 2 weeks even more effectively in Cincinnati and New York." The playful turn was more than a joke. It was a declaration. One setback was not going to define Eala. In Cincinnati and New York, she would rest, heal, and return stronger. And she would be prepared when she got back to Cincinnati. It was still the pain of Toronto. The 6-figure salary was in the bank already. However, Eala had little time to think about what may have been. Cincinnati was calling, offering her the opportunity to solidify her status as one of the WTA's top players. She snapped her fingers to indicate how soon she intended to return, saying, "I'll be back on court like that." The last significant warm-up event before to the U is the Cincinnati Open, which takes place at the Lindner Family Tennis Center in Mason, Ohio, from August 13th to August 23rd. Accessible. One of the most prestigious events on the WTA schedule, the WTA 1000 tournament has an incredible $7,433,076 prize fund. Additionally, Eala sees it as the ideal chance to recover from her loss in Toronto. There is an abundance of skill on the Cincinnati pitch. Leading personalities confirmed for the event include Irina Sabalenka, Elena Rybakina, Coco Gauff, Iga Swiatek, Jessica Pegula, and Eala herself. The tournament is a 96-player singles draw with 75 direct entry, 12 qualifiers, and 8 wildcards, and 75 of the top 77 players on the WTA Tour are anticipated to compete. The rankings on August 10th will determine the seeding of the top 32 players. Eala has a big edge thanks to her DC Open victory and Toronto run, which gave her a top 20 rating. She will have a first-round bye as a seeded player, which means she won't have to compete until the second round. For a player who has played 8 games in about 12 days and is experiencing the aftereffects of a taxing summer swing, that additional recuperation could be vital. After losing against Bencic, Eala had stated, "I definitely will take maybe 2 days off, preparing to take a quick break before traveling to Ohio. I must get my hair chopped. My fingernails have grown out. To distract myself from tennis, I'll do a few things. Try to have fun when you get back again with some buddies in Cincinnati." Cincinnati offers a plethora of opportunities. Eala might break into the top 15 for the first time in her career if she has a strong run. Additionally, it would boost her already remarkable earnings by a substantial amount. Her tournament total would surpass $193,000 if she advanced to the quarterfinals in Cincinnati. She had already earned $105,720 from Toronto alone. Action starts on August 13th after the draw is revealed on Wednesday, August 12th. Eala's objective is straightforward: move on from Toronto, embrace Cincinnati, and continue on a path that has already permanently changed Philippine tennis. Belinda Bencic's defeat was still vivid in our the mind. The score of 6-4-6-0 hurt. However, Alex Eala didn't discuss what went wrong when she had some time to think back on her run in Toronto. She discussed everything that went well. I see the last 2 weeks as a huge plus. The remarks demonstrated the viewpoint that has propelled the 21-year-old Filipina from a bright junior to a WTA winner. Only a few days after winning her maiden WTA Tour Championship at the D, she had traveled to Toronto. Open, just a day after defeating world number 3 Jessica Pegula in a rain-soaked final. In just 12 days, she had competed in 8 contests, winning 7 of them. She had quieted a stadium, rolled her ankle, and persevered through the kind of fatigue that would have shattered lesser players. And she took great pride in each and every moment. Naturally, it's difficult after a defeat, Eala said calmly. However, as I mentioned earlier, I see these last 2 weeks as a huge plus. I believe my performance was excellent. I've overcome a lot of challenges. The challenges were genuine. And she had triumphed over them all. A 20-hour rain delay, a first-set deficit in the final, and a 6-0 final set against the world number 3 were all part of her DC Open triumph journey. During her Canadian Open campaign, she had a terrifying ankle injury against Caddy McNally, which resulted in a medical stoppage and left 10,000 spectators speechless. She had fought the world's best players, Olympic gold medalists, and Grand Slam winners, and she had defeated the majority of them. After her triumph at McNally, she had commented, "Today was physically it pushed me a lot, already feeling the effects of her exhausting run. Eala found reasons to be thankful even in defeat, even if I am as exhausted as one possibly be at this point." She remarked, "I'm really thankful that I'm healthy. Clearly, it's always at the top of my priority list. Yes, I am counting my blessings." The lessons learned from Toronto were evident. She had discovered that she was capable of competing with the world's greatest. When it mattered most, she had discovered that she could prevail. She had discovered that she could her J.